Yeah, I imagine it's a lot less like, well, I don't know. I feel like some World Cup riders kind of like keep to themselves and don't want to share lines and are a bit more, like they're there to win or try to win.
Yeah,
I imagine this being a bit more, collaborative between
very
peers
much
and
so.
yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of like uh, everyone's kind of trying to make everyone succeed. Obviously, it's a race at the end of the day, but it seems a bit more like, all right, let's do this together. Let's follow me
Y-
in, whatever you need.
yeah. Yeah, it
Except the
was
cheeky
really,
line last year.
I know. Yeah, I was like, when is this going to come up? Yeah. So that made, there was a few hurt people over that. But there was a few lines this year that kind of got skidded in. I was like, oh, that's smart, or that's creative. But then I think everyone would have been on them.
Right.
If I do get to go back next year, and they also may have a new track at that point also, but we can talk about that in a sec. But I definitely will try to do more coverage of the bits in between. I think it was my first time there. I was gobsmacked by the jumps, the size of them. So maybe, my own out of my own fandom, I was kind of just following whatever I thought was cool. And I'm used to seeing tight corners or slower bits. I'm like, oh, whatever. I'm going to go stand this massive jump.
Mm,
But yeah, there was a bit of that line stuff in the past, but I think now all the riders, it's turned into a race. And yeah, they'll collaborate on jumps, but in between, they are looking for speed
all
for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you just teased a huge tease. What do you
I,
mean new
I did.
trend?
Well, so how it works, and like I don't know if I'll get in trouble for any of this, but we'll see. How it works is you have now I can't speak for Wales because that is the origin, like the original, and then everything else has come from that. But I think hardlines are going to be on like 3-year, uh, contracts, I guess. So
Ooh.
Tasmania's had their 3 years, and if they were to do it again, and this just whispers amongst riders and stuff, they may have to either have a sizable amount of new parts or a new track because of actually, it's not because of the riders who love it, but it's because of actually the online appetite, and people, unfortunately, if they know something is possible, they have less of the desire to watch it. So
We're the
people,
problem.
yeah, basically we are the problem. So a lot of people
It's boring.
on year one, when they've never seen any of it being done before, everyone's wondering, can it be done? And also the riders.
Yeah.
So it's a lot juicier then, basically.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah.
like that makes me think of the chasm canyon gap at
Oh
Wales
God.
that
Yeah. Phew.
like,
Well,
because
I
that
don't
was
think that'll
more
ever come
watched.
back.
No, that was it almost seemed like a publicity stunt to me. Like it was like who would have ever greenlit that? It was insane.
It
But
honestly was insane. Yeah, like
but
so
that
scary.
hardline was viewed
Yeah.
like that was I think one of Red Bull's highest viewed events ever. Like it did better than Rampage that year.
Oh,
Um
okay. Okay. Yeah. I think also though it's like the builders, like they want to put on a good show and push the sport again. And Hardline, that's why it was made and built. It was Dan Asherton saying like, oh, I wonder, can we have a downhill World Cup level track with absolutely huge features? And then it's just being pushed. And, I was talking to him over there as well. And he's the new global sports director for Hardline. And he's so relaxed, like talking about the size of jumps. And, there was times when it was a certain level of wind and he said, okay, we shouldn't let the women ride because of their weight. So he's so finely tuned to all of these things.
mhm.
So I'm kind of inclined. I mean, I think that jump over the massive ravine was for sure too far. I think the shape of the lip wasn't right for how fast you had to hit the gap.
No.
It looked like a quarter pipe takeoff, and everyone has a different style of building. But with that style of building, they've an intent for how the rider should hit it. Whereas like I said, I haven't seen Wales, but Hardline Tasmania, they've got the recipe dialed now. They really understand the radius of jumps for the speed you're going to need. So I think if they do scale up or change features or even have a new track, I do trust them. And then I think in Wales, they've always pushed the sport. But I think they've learned enough lessons at this point to make it a lot more user friendly. And I don't think that
Mhm.
gap will, because I asked, and they said no, I don't think that'll ever come back because it was too shocking.
Not without a net.
I'm happy about yeah,
It
yeah.
had a net, I think, but I
No,
mean, it
no,
was
it
oh, it
didn't.
didn't?
So basically, I think those were just video. Like I think those are the guys just trying the gaps for the crack. It wasn't. Maybe not even supposed to be videoed, and then it was kind of all talked about afterwards when it did kind of go a bit wrong. Of like, oh, this could have been
Yeah.
horrendous. Like if you slipped a pedal on the
I
way
mean,
in,
but the
or
money they would have spent to build that jump is just, like
oh yeah, huge,
it was
yeah.
either a very, very clever marketing publicity stunt to, like, just build it and have, you know, a couple clips so people are like, "I need to watch this because that is insane."
I mean, they didn't even
Or
have to hit it.
someone just was like had kind of
Yeah.
a bad idea, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, they
even just
didn't even have to
having
hit
the
it.
size of it with the logo up there for sure. Like, yeah, no one had to hit it, but
They
yeah,
did. I
obviously
cannot
it
believe
wasn't.
they hit that.
Yeah, pretty
It's
crazy.
Just looking at it, it
yeah.
didn't make sense to me. Yeah.
No, awful. Sure, Jimbo, it looked like a shot out of a cannon,
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
massive
that's,
cannon.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um, alright, so obviously the event got canceled. Um,
yeah,
that's a huge bummer. How
yeah.
was kinda that trackside? Like, there must have been a ton of confusion and people probably really bummed.
Yeah, well, I think it's sorry, I'm just laughing at Ronan. Ronan was so funny. He's like, "Yeah, gives my bike. I'll hit it." And I was like, "Ch just chill out there now. Like, let's have a let's see how everyone else is feeling." He's like, "Yeah, but I'll hit it anyway. I'm convinced it'll be fine." I was like, "Yeah, but you'll be fine because you're Ronan." But there's varying weights here, and I think when you're at that level, you don't want to maybe be the person to say I don't want to ride, or I don't think it's safe. But actually I was pretty impressed with everyone's candidness, and you know um people were thinking, look, I don't think I'm going to carry the speed, or if we do one practice run, because they didn't want to go into the race having not done any riding that day, which fair enough. Was said that just their tires alone would agitate the ground, and then they probably would roll even slower. And when you're fighting
Right.
for 1 to 3 k an hour speed, that will make the difference. You can't afford to lose even a kilometer an hour. So they made the right call. There is absolutely no way those gaps would have worked for everyone. Maybe some of the riders, and that's not to detract from how good they are. But when you watch them ride the jumps in the dry, when the ground is like concrete, and then for to see the way the ground did go, it was like a sponge. Not quite a sponge, but it had
Is it
like a
like
lino.
clay? It looks like
Yeah,
clay,
yeah, it's clay in parts. It was like a
so
lino
it kinda
floor.
turns
It had
into
a
like a
bounce. Oh
peanut
yeah,
buttery.
Well, yeah, it gets
and
soft, it gets sticky. I mean, you
yeah,
see that in
soft and
slope
sticky.
style events too, where, a little bit of rain impacts those jumps massively.
Mhm.
And the same thing
Massively.
goes to those
Yeah,
longer
It
gaps.
yeah.
Yeah, the Hardline course looks like you could run it in, like, a monsoon if you wanted, whereas er, sorry, the Wales course,
The Wales one, yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
because it's got
because
gravel.
like and it
Yeah,
drains well, yeah, this one
yeah.
looks like it would take like, once it's wet, it would be unrideable almost, and it would take hours to dry probably.
If if it was windy, which then would be also problematic, because then you probably couldn't hit jumps. So with the sun, the wind, it actually would have like dried up pretty quickly, because it was very dry to begin with. But funnily enough, there was no real wind that day, so it was actually perfect riding conditions, bar the rain. And then
Mhm.
also even like taking into consideration, if it's pissing rain and you see shiny spots in a berm when you're entering, like they're basically white, that that's glass, because that's a hard packed piece of berm that's now really wet, and the light's hitting it in such a way that it basically makes it look white. And that's going to be a sloop off the top of the berm kind of maneuver. So, yeah, whether it was glass, like lubed up glass, or peanut butter, there was going to be areas in those corners that people were going to either fly off the top of the berm or have a swap. And if you have a swap, you lose all your speed anyway. So I think overall they made the only decision they could, but it was
Mm.
heartbreaking to see everyone going through the I guess the ups and downs throughout the day, trying to figure it out, and
Mhm.
basically stay in that mindset of like we're still going to race and we're still going to ride. But Dan Ashton said it really well. He said this is Hardline. They're making the course to be performed on at basically perfect conditions, so that it's
Mhm.
the highest level of riding you can do. And if it was made to only work in the wet with the soil type they have, the gaps would be much smaller, because then you could go off, or at least these riders at this level could go off a lip with ruts at maybe 40 to 50 feet gap with ruts off the lip. But when you're hitting 70 plus foot gaps, you can't have ruts coming in off the lip.
No.
Yeah.
You know, and once again, a lot of this stuff doesn't look. A lot of people maybe have never experienced how scary and dangerous a rut is coming into a lip, even on a 10-foot gap. So, if will it even translate? You know, and are you putting yourself in all of this risk and all this danger if it doesn't even translate on screen? So, uh,
Mhm.
yeah, it's another thing.
So yeah, Dan, you were there down in the pits talking to the riders when I guess the event was announced that it was going to be canceled.
Yeah.
Was there any talk or discussion of it being postponed, or like having a weather day built into the schedule, or like could they have run it the next day if the weather turned?
So it turns out, and I only found this out afterwards, that seeding is supposed to be that security, um, or that like fallback scenario. And I was talking to someone in Red Bull about this, and they said that is what seeding is for. That if the race was to get cancelled for whatever reason, probably weather is the only reason, that they would rely on their seeding results. Now, the front we got, like Tasmania has, there's no way of saying it, the weather systems there can be batshit. They're very hard to monitor, and even what it's saying on the screen is not necessarily on the radar is what you're going to get. It's more Irish than Ireland, I will say, when it comes to weather. So, and Ireland's famous for its erratic weather, and people, of course. But um, they did monitor everything. The riders were fairly confident they were going to get a dry day on Sunday, but unfortunately, like we drove into the rain. So I was staying in Hobart, and about 10 minutes out, we just drove into a blanket of rain, and that's where it hung around in Medina for the day, or at
Yeah.
least half the day. So they got unlucky there. They were supposed to have dry weather, so everyone did their seeding run in whatever fashion they thought was like, you know, some of them maybe didn't want to show all their cards. Some of them were like, I'm just going for it. It was a bit of a mixture,
Mhm.
but I was told by someone from Red Bull afterwards that the riders were aware that seeding is supposed to be that backup.
Okay,
Now,
that was
Okay.
my question
yeah,
coming next. Yeah.
but in the future, will they maybe have seeding on the Friday, aim to race on Saturday, and then if that doesn't pan out, race on the Sunday? I personally think that would be a better way of doing it. All the riders were already
Mhm.
up to speed on Thursday anyway. It only took them 2 days. They were already flying. I don't think they would be against that. Um, I've no answers if that's how they will do things in the future, but that would be my approach.